Your Olympic hero has arrived. It's true, it's true.
You're watching Fugitive Red-Eye, and welcome to another game review, and this is a Go Nagai game review. We're going to be talking about MazinSaga Mutant Fighter on the Sega Genesis. Now, I've technically streamed this game twice. The first time I did terrible and never even got past the first boss, Garrett K7. The second time, which was last night, I beat the entire game in one sitting. First, I played through the game on easy, and then found out that I couldn't get the ending on easy, so then I played through it again on normal with some caveats, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, for those of you unfamiliar with MazinSaga, it's a Mazinger Z spin-off. It's very similar in concept to Devilman Saga. It actually predates Devilman Saga by quite a bit. MazinSaga came out in the 90s, whereas I think Devilman Saga started in like 2013. But essentially, it's a spin-off of Mazinger Z, where Mazinger Z itself, rather, is an armor instead of an actual mech, so it's an armor that Koji physically puts on. I've never actually read the MazinSaga manga, so that's about as much information as I know on it. It's all very surface level. The game does open with a text crawl telling us that the Earth is being attacked by the bioforces led by God Kaiser. I don't know if God Kaiser is the face that pops up at the end that looks like Dr. Hell. I would assume it is. I don't know if that's actually the character's name in the actual manga, or if this is a unique thing for the US release, or what. I'm not really sure. I don't know if the localization changes anything as far as character names and stuff. I honestly don't know. Mazinger Z is still called Mazinger Z in this, and this game is one of the few 90s games I've seen use the word hell uncensored, at least on like the Genesis, like that era. The game itself has a total of 7 stages, in a way. The first 5 stages all have actual level stages where you play in a small mode, which controls differently than the big fight mode. At the end of each small stage, you'll fight a mini-boss, which will then lead you to the super boss. Super boss is when you go into big mode, and it becomes a 2D fighter. The 6th stage is a boss rush, where you just fight all of the previous bosses again, although they are upgraded. I don't know if they're actually stronger, or if they're just palette swaps, because doing the boss rush, I had to be on normal mode in order to do it, so it would have been harder theoretically anyway, and on top of that, I cheated when I played on normal mode, so I actually don't know if they do more damage, because I couldn't take damage. But once you finish all the previous bosses, that completes the 6th stage, and then takes you to the 7th stage, which is simply one fight, which is the final boss, Hell Mazinger. Now, Hell Mazinger's a pretty cool boss fight. It's very similar to the Negative Mazinger boss fight, which is the final boss if you just play on easy. But both of them are effectively a Mortal Kombat mirror match, where you're basically fighting yourself, although each of them have a projectile attack, which you do not. The way I played the game is on my modded 360, I played through it on easy, on my Sega Genesis emulator. I was able to successfully beat it on easy, although I did save scum quite a bit on the boss fights, where I would save and load, you know, if I had given them damage without taking any myself. I didn't have to do this on the first boss, or even really the second boss. It was really like the 3rd boss and up that I started to cheat a little bit with the saves coming. I'll tell you, probably the most irritating boss to fight was Buster Claw, because he does a really annoying tail whip. Although it's kind of hard to say, because Negative Mazinger and Hell Mazinger can both be pretty irritating as well, because they'll wait and block you and then, like, attack you, and because they have the same attack moves as you, they do a lot of the same bullshit tactics I was doing, so that's kind of frustrating. Also, Dino Beast was really annoying with his charge attack. It's a pain in the ass to try and dodge and then counter. The game itself is pretty difficult, as you can imagine from my complaints here. Like, these are not, like, negative criticisms on the game, because I'm just bad. But it is fucking hard, and I do think at some points, the difficulty can be a bit much, especially since in order to actually get the ending, you have to play through it on normal. I didn't know this going into it, so I went in, played it on easy, beat Negative Mazinger, and then Chisu's like, oh, you gotta play it on normal to get the real ending and to fight the final boss. And I'm like, well, that sucks. Because like I said, it just ends with stage 5 when you play it on easy. I didn't want to have to replay the entire game again on normal, so I looked it up and found out a cheat code that lets you skip the small stages so that you just do boss fight after boss fight. When I did that, I realized it is much more fucking difficult on normal fighting these bosses than it was on easy. So because of that, I eventually gave up on just doing it on the 360, doing the boss-only mode, and instead hooked up my modded original Xbox. Now the reason I did that, because unlike my 360, the original Xbox lets me put in Game Genie codes, so I was able to cheat, so I made myself invincible. And even being invincible and fast-forwarding, it took me fucking forever to beat the bosses again just to get back to the boss rush. Now, admittedly, the fast-forwarding was probably more of a hindrance because I wasn't as precise with my attacks. Because once I actually got to the boss rush, it was much quicker than it was replaying the bosses I had already fought. So it was probably just me being impatient and fast-forwarding that caused the problem there. Out of these bosses, the only one I actually recognized as being from the Mazinger series was Garrett K7. And if the livestream chat is to be believed, then Garrett K7 is like the only one that actually is a source material boss, because most of the bosses in this game are game exclusive. It doesn't surprise me when they have names like Slughead, Dino Beast, and Buster Claw, but still, it is interesting that most of these bosses are game exclusive. So the game is pretty difficult, it can be frustrating at times. It's fun. It can be kind of tedious, I'm not gonna lie, that could just be a lack of skill on my part. But I will say, out of the Go Nagai games I've played, this is the first one I've been able to beat. And I would say, out of the Go Nagai beat-em-ups, this has been the most fun. I enjoyed this more than Chibi Chara Wars or Mazinger Z on SNES. I think it's interesting, though, that out of all of the Go Nagai video games, this is literally the only one that has had a US release. Like, how does that happen? Like, MazinSaga, a spin-off, is the only one that comes out in the US. We don't get the Mazinger Z game on SNES, we just get this. I'll take it. It's a fun game. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Obviously, that's why I played through it in one sitting and was willing to go through it again in order to actually get the ending. So I played through it twice in one sitting, in a way, although again, the second time I was doing boss-only mode and cheating. The ending, also, is really fucking dark, because you win, and then it's like, you win, but the Earth will never be the same and will never be recovered, so now you're going to colonize Mars. Also, Dr. Hell is sending his forces to Mars to take over that, too, so you're just kind of fucked. Really dark ending, I love it. But anyway, very fun game, very frustrating, but overall, I'm glad I played it. Anyway, this has been Fugitive Red Eye. Have a good one. Toodles.
What a grand adventure this has been. God bless us, everyone.
As soon as I can walk again, I'm gonna kick that kid's ass.
You fucking Mackay are all the same. One little sniff of pussy and you lose it.